what keeps us always from this journey that God wants us to have. And it's very simple. There are three principal things that we all battle with. If you were sitting down with me tomorrow and said, Father, yeah, give me some spiritual coaching. Yeah, I like that. And I sat you down, it's the first things I would ask you. The first of all is the world. Now, when I talk about the world, or you mentioned the world as being an obstacle to your holiness, or to you knowing God, or growing closer to, or growing in faith, what do I mean? Does that mean the planet Earth? Does that mean the global community of persons? When you talk about the world? No. It's this overarching materialism. It's a secular spirit. Okay? And those who live rooted in the things of the earth, with their hearts set on, for example, health, very big. You know, you ladies, if you can't get in a certain size dress, or you don't have your 6 muscles all whatever, or if you don't look a certain way, well, you're not really kind of, you're not worth much. You don't have any value if you're not beautiful. The world. So your health, it's materialism, and if you don't own this type of car, if you don't, I don't even need to, you know what I'm talking about, right? So these fleeting realities, which we call the world, what are they? They're simply this. They blind us to the greatest truths of our human experience. Okay? I want to just quote very quickly a letter from this first letter of John, again written about 30 years after Jesus died. Do not love the world or the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and pride of life, not of the Father, but is of the world. So, just to summarize, the world becomes an enemy because we know there's a lot of good things in the world. We're not saying that creation is bad. We're simply saying that it becomes an enemy of the world when our scale of values challenges God for allegiance. That's what we mean by the world. Okay? And what is the first commandment? The first commandment is, you shall have no other gods but me. And how easy it is for these gods to slip into our lives. They do all the time. So, the first obstacle that is always reflected upon is the influence of the world in your life, and how maybe that's stopping you, how to roadblock to your growth, your spiritual growth. The second thing is what we call the flesh. Now, what do we mean about this? This is another misunderstood concept, if you want to call it that. Many people accuse Christianity as being those who hate the body. You ever heard that before? Right? You guys are all about do not. Right? But it's actually quite the opposite. I think the misunderstanding comes from the letters of St. Paul, where he talks about the flesh and the spirit, the battle that goes on. If you want to read this yourself, it's in Galatians chapter 5. He goes on very clearly about this, and you can see how people may misunderstand this. But what is he getting at? I think this is important. When St. Paul talks about the flesh, he doesn't just mean the human body. He means, there's our cross. That's a distraction. I'm saying, just he means that within us, we have these powers that drive, they pull us down. You ever seen the skit of the professor and the caveman? Actually, something that would be worthwhile doing because it explains really well. The professor's all well dressed, he's got glasses on, and then the caveman is, dressed like a caveman. The professor represents prudence, clarity of mind, good decision making, all of those positive things that we know from time to time function in us. And the caveman is, well, the other side of us. Our instincts. Eating, drinking, whatever, to an excess. And this skit goes on to explain how this is true. We are in a civil war within us. That battle between this professor-type reality and this caveman. The reality. So that's what we mean by the flesh, is that we are heirs in original sin to a fracturedness. So sin, what is sin? Sin is the greatest opposition there is to God. It's disorder. God is order. God is beauty. God is perfection. Sin is disorder. It's imperfection. It's lies. It's the opposite. So I think what's important here is we have to we have to regain the grace of really opposing sin in our life. And our motto needs to be, sin is the enemy of everything that I love. And that is the truth. Sin is the enemy of everything that I love. So, what are some of the greatest aims that Satan has against us? I'm just going to give you a few that I have seen in my own work as a spiritual director of souls, of people who want to live a good and holy life. The first is mediocrity and complacency. Who can tell me what mediocrity is? Do you think that holiness and mediocrity can be side by side? Exactly. Holiness is striving for excellence. Sometimes we have these kind of crazy ideas about what holiness, being holy is, being saint. You know, levitating and not eating food for 6 weeks, just living off a new personality. Holiness is saying, listen, God has given me gifts, and I'm going to use those gifts to the best of my abilities. Striving for excellence. Mediocrity is the last thing. You know what mediocrity is? It's, take it easy, man. Not too much religion. Too much religion is bad. Holiness is a bore. It's a drag. Who wants to be seen? Walking around with a head bowed down, with a rosary around her head. That sounds like a really fun time. So, mediocrity, complacency. You don't want to be too holy. So anybody who's motivated or very enthusiastic about living their faith, the first thing that Satan's going to want to do is lessen your fervor. Okay? Remember that. That's the first aim. His second aim is discouragement. Discouragement is the guillotine of saints. Good line. Discouragement is the guillotine of saints. It saps us of our spiritual energies, and it leads us to inactivity, and for many, despair. I can't do this, I'm no good, I'm pathetic, I'm an idiot, look how sinful I am, I have no self-control, blah, blah, blah. And you are useless. That's what Satan's saying. So useless that you don't go to confession, you don't go to Mass, you forget about praying because you're just so pathetic. Why even try? Right? Been there, done that, right? The next element he uses is self-righteousness. So if you're useless, well, he also says maybe you're too good. You got it all sorted out. I got it all wrapped up. I know exactly what I got to do. The master of appearances. How many people that we know appear to live holy lives? Or to live a happy life. And yet inside they're probably going through a lot of turmoil, a lot of struggle. Thinking ourselves maybe better than other people. And therefore we lessen up our own. We become self-satisfied. And we don't make an effort in the most important elements of our spiritual life. Self-righteousness. And the last one is apostolic inactivity. And I quote the famous line, all that is necessary for the triumph of evil is is that good people